You know, this has been a slow burn over the last 10 years, you know? These characters kind of came into my head and I didn't really know who they were. Eventually I realized they were the Spengler family. And I really found myself ready to tell the story once it kind of mirrored my own life. You know, I'm the son of a Ghostbuster, and once I knew they were the grandchildren of Ghostbuster and this film would be about picking up that legacy, I knew how to tell it. You know, Egon Spengler was my favorite Ghostbuster. Everyone has a favorite Ghostbuster. It's like having a favorite Beatle. And for whatever reason, Egon, who was brilliant and quiet and misunderstood, he spoke to me, he made me laugh the most, and so it made the most sense to me to follow through in his family trajectory. I think this was my personal way into the story. I think that the story of the 4 original Ghostbusters is a story that belongs to my father and Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, and they told that story beautifully. And I wanted to expand the universe and start with new characters in a new place on a new adventure in a way that still reminded you of everything you love about Ghostbusters, with details of everything you love, from the packs to the car to the flight suits to the ghosts to the terror dogs to the guys. And at the same time, start expanding what a Ghostbusters movie could look like, where it could take place, who it could star, so that we can open up this universe and start getting more films from other parts of the world.
Jump. 2, 1,
If I'm gonna pick up the baton, carry the torch for a bit, I don't wanna let anyone down, particularly my father. So I only stepped in once I knew exactly what I wanted to do and I thought it was possible to make a film that was a worthy sequel.
This is so rad.
We had written a family that we were really proud of, and we cast a very wide net. We looked at tapes from around the world, and fortunately, we found not only, young actors that we're very familiar with, like Finn Wolfhard and McKenna Grace, but new actors like Logan Kim and Celeste O'Connor that I think audiences are gonna fall in love with.
All right, back in. All right, don't say that, but McKenna, high five him right away.
Gil Kennan and I wanted to write a young hero, a young woman who was brilliant and a scientist and misunderstood just like her grandfather Egon. And we wanted to create a young woman that our daughters could look up to. So I would love to continue telling her story. Paul Rudd is the kind of genius comedian that I could almost imagine my father casting back in 1984 had he been the right age. He's the kind of actor who makes everything he's in better. He's a great writer, he's a great improviser, and he's a perfect Ghostbuster.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
We were lucky in that we were working with just incredible artisans. The nice thing about when you say you're doing Ghostbusters is you get all these creature creators and designers and artists and puppeteers who grew up loving Ghostbusters and want nothing more than to add something to that mythology. So from the people designing pen on paper to the people actually sculpting out of clay and creating these maquettes, and they were all Ghostbusters fans and they wanted to get it right as much as I did. This is my first movie working with Francois. He's a genius and had done extraordinary work before Ghostbusters. I feel very lucky to have worked with him. He and I talked about creating real sets from the very beginning. We didn't want to make a movie inside a green screen stage. We wanted to make a film the way they did it in '84, where if we were going to build giant Gozerian steps or build giant temples, we would make them. And we had an extraordinary team up in Calgary. And the actors were working in the real thing. When they walked around the sets, they were really there. One of the great joys of making this film was finally getting to do action sequences. There was no car chase in Juno. So to have Ecto 1 flying around corners, with McKenna Grace hanging out the side, busting a ghost, to have the little RTV going, it was a real thrill. But in addition to that, really getting into the type of filmmaking that my father did in the '84. Dry ice, wires, magnets, mirrors, and of course, puppetry and animatronics, something I've wanted to do my entire life. it's a different kind of directing, you know. My career has been mostly made of, you know, filming people talking, and it's a whole other thing to have these storyboarded sequences and to be shooting things over long periods of time. The centerpiece car chase of this film, the Muncher chase, which I could basically watch every day, it took the entire film shoot to get.
Yeah! That was awesome. I gotta say, that was pretty cool. So now I'm gonna give you a high five.
I told you to trap him.
Okay. It's fine. We'll get him next time. All right? Yeah. Okay.
This has been an extraordinary couple years for the world, and I've been very fortunate, more fortunate than most. And it gave us an opportunity to look at the movie the way a screenwriter looks at a script. We were able to set it down the way you would a script and come back to it months later and watch it with fresh eyes. And we made various little adjustments along the way, and particularly had more time to work on visual effects, which, as you know, this is my first visual effects film. So there was a high learning curve for me as I figured out how to do this, and certainly was able to dial in certain characters and effects way better than had we released 2 years ago. First and foremost, we wanted to create a film that was a foundation for more Ghostbusters. I'd love to see my favorite directors come into this mythology and direct Ghostbusters movies. Every culture around the world has a relationship with the supernatural, and there deserves to be more movies. I hope Sony gets behind it. But yeah, I mean, we wanted to create a larger Ghostbusters mythology. We see this as just the next chapter in Ghostbusters, and think there are so many Ghostbuster stories to be told.
Some amazing behind the scenes we got here from Ghostbusters Afterlife. With Jason Reitman directing, it's kind of on a whole new wavelength on this franchise, and just taking it on a different route than we normally have seen Ghostbusters, which normally took place only in the NYC in New York City, which I was born in New Jersey, and my dad's from the Bronx himself, which I've said here before with the West Side Story behind the scenes. But it's really cool, all the kinds of stuff that's on this behind the scenes for Ghostbusters, where you see all the really cool things that they bring on set, that they've done live on set instead of having visual effects. It's mainly a lot of practical effects on set, making their debut once again. So this is really, really cool to see this kind of stuff happening in Hollywood, because practical effects is really, really good when it's used in the right way, and then using VFX to kind of polish it, if you know what I mean. So if you learned some really cool stuff here, let me know down in the comments down below about Ghostbusters Afterlife, any filmmaking stuff that you've noticed, and have you seen any other Jason Reitman films other than Juno? Maybe you've seen Up in the Air or anything like that. He's a phenomenal filmmaker and a phenomenal drama filmmaker. So I wasn't surprised when he brought in some kind of dramatic tension and dramatic story behind Ghostbusters Afterlife. So go ahead and check it out in theaters, which is only in theaters currently right now. And down in the description below, you'll find IMDb links where you can find out more about the filmmaker and cast and crew as well. With all that being said, I hope your holiday is going well, and Christmas is coming up soon, so I'll have about 3 more behind the scenes coming out with The Kingsman, Matrix Resurrection, and Sing Part 2. So expect that here on Greenlight. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button, and I'll see you here next time. Later.